welcome everybody to Hope for Our Times. And let me tell you, we have an exciting program for you all today. And I know you've been waiting this for a long time. In fact, the last time Monkey and I were together in person was Rockwall, Texas. That was a year ago. But Monkey Werx is joining me today. Monkey is known for his widely followed social media commentary and analysis on current events, particularly those related to military aviation and geopolitics. He's a third-generation military veteran, has over 30 years of experience in aerospace and defense industry, covering areas such as supply chain logistics, aircraft maintenance, lean manufacturing, and advanced weapons programs. He lives in the great state of Texas. He's joining us today. Hey, Monkey, thanks for joining us.
You bet, brother. It's good to see you, and yeah, we'll have to do this more often. I'm coming out to Rockwall and getting to see you guys and just stepping in. I think it kind of threw everybody for a loop because they weren't expecting me, but it was a good time. I had fun getting able to get up on the stage with you and do all of the fun stuff that we get to do when we are hanging out together. So.
It was great seeing you. It's great having you with me here today. I look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future too. But yes. People ask me a lot, when I go places, they'll ask about you. I say, listen, Monkey and I are good friends. And yes. and because everybody's saying, they tried to get you on their program. And but anyways, this is great. And it's great having you as a friend also.
Absolutely.
Hey, I don't want to take up a lot of your time. You're super busy. I know that. It looks like you're kind of in a surf shop in Texas. I love that. I love that behind you. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm going to ask you about this. I want to ask you about Operation Phoenix, amongst other things. But
sure.
The Phoenix program is estimated to have neutralized, this is per your information, over 80,000 individuals with about 26,000 killed. While the program was successful in disrupting the VC infrastructure, it also contributed to the growing unpopularity of the Vietnam War, both in the U.S. and internationally. We're going to talk about the Operation Phoenix. We're also going to talk about, assuming we have time, the Palmdale Plant 42 military activities that are going on there. You had a program not too long ago called House of Cards. And man, is this a house of cards or what? So Monkey, if you're good, you want to just start right into it and I'll throw out a couple questions for you?
Yeah, so just a little backfill on this whole Operation Phoenix thing or Project Phoenix, or the Phoenix Project, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. But Phoenix program is a name it goes by. This actually, and I know we're like, what are we talking about Vietnam for? What I have been doing, I started doing a ton of research because I was and I'm still going to write a blog about the assassination of JFK. And as I started to kind of peel that banana back, I started recognizing the fact that, our CIA and our deep state have been really, they got some pretty dark sides to them, and they have been busy for quite some time. We've talked about it when I come to your conferences. We usually talk about the PO Box 1142 or Operation Paperclip. That is how the CIA basically got its legs. It came out of the OSS, which was a division of the Army, and then through Operation Paperclip stood up the CIA. Well, they have had their hands in a lot of things. And so what happened was I was doing all this research on JFK, and these little program names or operational names would pop up, and I'd just make a little note and I go, I need to research that and see what it's all about. And so what I have found is if I go all the way back way before even the stuff that was going on with the Vietnam War, you can go into the Bay of Pigs. Our deep state, because they've been around from almost day one of their startup from the CIA, State Department, et cetera, they have been like really meddling in politics, anything around the world to try to control the narrative for decades and decades. And it's absolutely staggering. So this program, this Phoenix program, the big key takeaway is that the CIA developed basically a target list, and they went in and they started killing all of these Viet Cong. And what was going on was they would go into villages and they wouldn't just, they would tell them, hey, you need to move out because we've got, Viet Cong in the area, whatever it may be, and we're trying to flush them out. They just go in and start, torching villages. They would kill women, children, everything. So it wasn't just, killing male insurgents. They would actually go in and kill everybody in the village. And there are lots and lots of stories and books that have been written about this. That's why so much of our Vietnam vets have a lot of PTSD, et cetera. If it wasn't for that, you got Agent Orange. But it also put me down another rabbit hole that had to do with cloud seeding, Operation Popeye, where they were basically going in and seeding the clouds to try to flush out the Viet Cong from the jungles. They would, you maybe remember Forrest Gump where he's talking about it raining sideways. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they were doing. It was all of that rain was because we were seeding the clouds. That's never stopped. The scariest thing I think that I have seen when it comes to all of these programs that our deep state has been engaged in would be Operation Northwoods, which was tied to kind of around that time of the Bay of Pigs. But what it was the CIA was going to conduct terrorist operations inside the United States to justify us attacking Cuba. So they were going to bring them in, fly airplanes into buildings, all that other good stuff that we have seen since then, right? And so it just goes to show you that there are no limitations when it comes to what our CIA or our deep state is capable of doing. They will kill Americans. They will kill women and children. They will conduct terrorist attacks on our own soil. There are no limits. So yeah, that's kind of the rabbit hole I went down, and it's just been, you can actually go in and look for probably the last 2 or 3 months, and there are blog after blog after blog about things that they have done that would just really open your eyes to why we are hated so much around the world.
Wow. I look at 9/11. I'm convinced just from my own studies that I believe airplanes flew into the building. Some say they didn't. But I do believe that the U.S. government was complicit in radicalizing whoever was necessary to make that happen in order to, coming out of that was what, the Patriot Act? Other things, then you justify a war. You look at Ukraine or Russia. There's so many different dynamics that you've got your hand on the pulse of these different things. And I'll be honest with you, Monkey, I'm getting, I'm watching the Israeli war, right, with Iran. Obviously, I support Israel. I understand God's covenant with Israel. I get that. Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm looking going, wait a minute. So the U.S. administration gives billions of dollars to Iran, and yet at the same time, we have ships all over the Mideast basically surrounding that area.
Yes.
To go against Iran. It's almost like, wait a minute, are you intentionally making sure that there is a war there? So you help feed Iran to do things, and then you say, don't do that, but we want you to do this, and then they've got this constant war that's over there. And I look at it and go, I don't know, it just seems like there's so many things that we are not being told. Whatever we're being told, it almost seems like it's opposite, or something else is really going on.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, we absolutely have most of our Navy surrounding the Middle East right now. It's everywhere from the Persian Gulf over the Red Sea into the Mediterranean. We completely have just lock, stock, and barrel all of our chips on the board, so to speak. And the interesting piece to that, and this is one of the things that I think we have to be very cognizant of and watch for, is because look, at the end of the day, what do we do the first time we pushed in one little carrier group? They hovered around off the coast there in the Mediterranean of Israel and Lebanon for a while to kind of isolate the threat. This time they didn't just do that. They put in, a lot of assets around the region, which tells you they are, I think they're anticipating something to take shape. And I would guess before that's not a matter of containment. That what I believe is going to happen. The same thing that happened in 9/11 was we got attacked on American soil, and then all of a sudden we green-lighted Bush to go in and basically take out everybody and their brother. And then what happened to his support rate, rating when Bush was before 9/11? I think he was sub 50, maybe even down in the 40s or less. very low approval rating, right? And then all of a sudden 9/11 happens. Boom, he's at like a 92% approval rating or something crazy high. And that takes our eyes off of everything else, right? If people didn't like George Bush, all of a sudden, which I'm not a fan of George Bush, but they didn't like him. Now all of a sudden they're supporting him because we were attacked on American soil. That is the MO of what our deep state is capable of doing. And when you start to see all of those naval assets as well as Air Force assets flying into the region, I believe it's a predetermined outcome. They know, all right, Iran's going to attack Israel, and then we're going to go after Iran. It's going to take everybody's eyes off the election, everything else. We'll see what happens, but I don't put anything past them. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned Operation Northwoods, was because it is exactly what they were planning on doing, operation to conduct terrorist attacks on American soil in order to, just like 9/11, authorize the war against a Middle East country. And the fact that we're putting all those assets in, I think that's the direction they may be heading. And, if you didn't know our history, you probably wouldn't recognize it.
Wow. This is just, you start looking at this. I read a while back, I was reading a book, and it was a book examining what was going on with Charles Manson, how the whole thing came about. Yeah. Then come to find out the CIA was involved with Manson, from giving him the drugs to make sure everybody's taking acid and the whole bit. It was basically to see what would the outcome be if we give this crazy guy enough drugs and bring girls to him and see what happens. You're looking going, no, they knew what Manson was up to, but he was an experiment for him.
That's right. MK Ultra. He was part of all of that, which is, you think all that went away. It didn't. They just fine-tuned and perfected it, and then it went dark. And that's the thing with a lot of the programs that our agencies are conducting and doing, is that they do these tests, and then it's public. People know they're doing things, and then all of a sudden it goes dark. It's not because the program failed or that they didn't, they weren't successful in what they were trying to accomplish. What happened was it opened up other doors to where they actually now can do other things. I mean, perfect example, HARP, right? The weather modification stuff. You look at HARP, it was taken over by, I think once operated by the U.S. Air Force, and then DARPA took it over for a little bit. And now I may have this kind of backwards, but they were talking about taking it apart. And there were guys on C-SPAN actually came out. They were being interviewed. Why are we taking this down, et cetera? And they would say, because we now have the capability to charge particles within the ionosphere without using HARP. It's outdated. So that tells you that, they're going to weaponize the weather. They're already doing it. I mean, look around the world at what's going on in terms of the weather and think about that from a military perspective and the damage you could do if you weaponize, if you make, weather warfare. And you go, well, why would we do that? Are we capable of doing that? Yeah, you just got to connect the dots. You can go all the way back to Operation Popeye, like I said, cloud seeding. And that's, one of the things that came out of that. They continued on. We still have companies in the United States and in Saudi Arabia that are doing cloud seeding. They don't even try to hide it. Their company names are Cloud, or sorry, not Cloud, but Weather Modification LLC. Or you have Seeding Operations and Atmospheric Research, or SOAR, which is a private third party. They have a bunch of little Cessnas, and they fly around storms and they cloud seed. And then on the ground, you start to see extremely large hail, as well as tornadoes and all kinds of different outbreaks, because they are taking a supercell and basically putting it on steroids by injecting things into something that is already super volatile. And so, yeah, our government is completely capable of doing anything and all thing. And if you think you got it figured out, like I will tell you, I do not have it figured out. I'm on to them, but they will do anything they have to do to maintain power. And I think we're starting to see that around the world. My big thing is, do I know their next move? I don't. But what I will say is, all you got to do is grab your Bible and look at the end state, because the Bible tells you everything that is going to come, like, mark of the beast, right? It's all there. You just have to connect the dots. All right. What capabilities do we have going right now that would actually put us to that end state? And everything is there. All the ingredients are there. You just need somebody to come in and start doing the cooking.
Yeah, that, that is a great way of putting it. Just have somebody comes and starts doing the cooking. I look at 2 Timothy chapter 3. It's a passage I've been reminding everybody that I possibly can lately, where Paul writes, in the last days, perilous times will come. Then he lists what characteristics of people will be. And then I think it's verse 13, he says, and evil men will wax worse and worse. They're going to get worse and worse. So would they actually do cloud seeding? Would they actually weaponize the weather? It's like, well, I mean, you start looking, well, God says they're going to get worse and worse. They're not going to get, men cannot get better and better on their own.
Right.
They might appear nicer, but they aren't going to get better. The heart of man is deceitful and wicked. So as you start to connect the dots with what you said, the mark of the beast, do we have anything that would lead us to that today? Well, what a quinky dink. And then, when you look at weaponizing the weather, you have the major fires that have destroyed cattle farms in Texas this past year. The major hail, you were sending me pictures of the massive hail. Incredible. I mean, I've been watching these farms that have been lit on fire. To me, I'm highly suspicious of them. I'm still suspicious of what happened in Lahaina in Maui.
Me too.
I don't believe there was, I mean, it does, none of these things add up.
No. The thing is, and here's what I see. I think that these elites that are in the world realize that the people are about to rise up against them. And I think that you're going to see them start to take some big hits on the populace just to try to control us. And that sounds crazy. And if you'd asked me that 20 years ago, this would have never come out of my mouth, because I didn't see it for what it was. But they are threatened. And I think Donald Trump is probably one that is a big threat to them. And it's why they're trying to kill him. It's why they're trying to put him in jail. They're trying to do everything they can to keep him from getting into office. And that's why I say everything is on the table, including the nuclear option. I don't see them standing down on any level. And I think if Trump gets into office, I think they're going to set him up before he ever takes oath for the economy to collapse. They're going to do a lot of different things that are going to basically bring our country to its knees. And of course, if America falls, everything else follows suit. And that's, we're the cornerstone or the hinge pin to everything around the world, from the economy to peace and stability, right? I mean, something happens to America, and we are taken out from the world stage, then all these other countries that have been relying on us, that have been on the dollar, et cetera, are going to just fold.
Yeah. Well, you look at the dollar, almost every country in the world is dependent on the dollar one way or another. And you go, what would happen? Well, you start looking at this, and it wouldn't play out very good. For the entire globe, it won't play out very good. Even regardless of BRICS nations, it's still going to collapse. It'll be such a massive collapse. I was talking with someone when we were in Australia there for a conference earlier this year, and we got into the conversation about the collapse of America and what happens if, what does Australia do to protect themselves? He goes, have you seen the Australian Navy? I said, no. He goes, neither have we. He goes, he's making the point, without a strong America, the entire Western world is in trouble.
Yes. Yes, it really is. And it's not just that. It's NATO would be in immediate trouble because we're 90% of the funds that go into NATO, if not more than that. It's an interesting time to be alive. I'll say that, just to watch all of these things unfold and just know that everything is so delicate and fragile right now. We're not imagining it. It's you've got, the world is on its head, especially here in the United States, where right is wrong and wrong is right. I mean, look at the Paris Olympics, right? Look at the intro that went into that. How was that? If that wasn't mocking God, what was, right? I will be shocked if something big and bad doesn't happen to Paris after that display, in terms of what they did. And then, you look at everything that's coming out in the media and the shows and all the other stuff, and you got 1% or 2% of the entire population driving all of these, their agenda. And you may think, well, you know what? I'm not buying in on the whole LGBTQ plus whatever, right? But then you go watch a show and it's in there. They inject it somehow. It's either a gay couple or lesbian, well, I guess lesbian would be gay, but you know what I'm saying? They are slowly trying to reprogram everybody through shows that we used to watch all the time that you would come back now and look at it and go, I can't believe I even watched that because, of what they have been putting in front of us to make it try to normalize things. The demonic side, right? Think about, we grew up and there was, and I never were into any of these, but like horror films, look at how robust that industry is now and how much stuff is getting pushed in front of us that is demonic in nature. You see it in rock concerts. You see it, at opening events that is just dark and demonic. And it's the world we're headed into. And like I said, you just grab your Bible and look at, the end times and what it tells us, whether it's Daniel, Ezekiel, Revelation, whatever it may be. We're breakneck speed headed down that path, and all of the elements, like I said, are there. It's just somebody's got to just pull them together, and they're off to the races.
Oh, wow. So well said. I'm going to ask you about Palmdale Plant 42 in just a minute. But a couple more comments. One of them, are you golfing? Because it looks like you get a Titleist hat on. Very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go golfing with you sometime. I better brush up on my skills.
I do. I play a lot of golf. It's my new love. It's I'm trying to get back into shape, and it's just getting out there in nature and chasing that little white ball, off into the woods and everything is it's I don't know. It just helps you chill out and relax a bit.
That's
so
very cool.
Yeah, anytime you want to play, you just let me know. You come out, we'll go.
Very cool. We'll work that out. By the way, everybody, we also have Monkey Coffee available. Check it out. Monkey Werx coffee. This one is Fog Navigator. This one's operated. We have all different kinds that are in the store. You can check them out. It's very cool. You're gonna love Monkey's coffee. I do every morning. I love drinking Monkey's coffee. It's fantastic. And thank you for. We have a limited supply. Check it out at the store. You will not be disappointed. And thank you for doing that for us too, Monkey. Really appreciate it. So let me, as I look to things, we're going to get to Palmdale Plant 42 in a second, but I look at things, so I look at the election coming.
Yeah.
In my mind, Trump wins, there's going to be riots. BLM was bad. It's going to be far, far worse if Trump wins, all right? And everything that you just said. Okay, the left wins, the Democrats win, right?
Same thing.
You're going to have a problem, even if. So what they're already setting this up for all these people that are conservative are going to riot. Well, even if they don't, I'm convinced it'll fall into the category of they'll do false flags. They would not stop at anything to make sure it appears that way, so they can bring in martial law. They can do whatever they want, because again, going back to what you were stating earlier, a strong America is not good for the globalist agenda. If it's a nationalistic America, that's not good for the globalist agenda. But we can see everything going that way. Therefore, in fact, I talked about it a little bit on my Sunday night message about what's going to happen with the election. And you just look at this and go, evil men will wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived, and we're headed this way. So as we look at these things, you've talked about UFOs and different things too. So Palmdale Plant 42, what's the significance, the operations going on there, increased activity, what is it?
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to, and I come off of some of these programs, so I kind of have an insider view on some elements of these that I can't really go into, even though it's been a hot minute, at least 4 years, 5 years since I've been on some of these. But what's going on when you get out there to like Area 51, China Lake, Palmdale, that's actually pretty close to your neck of the woods, right? From the Palmdale perspective. But they have these advanced programs. They can't run them in the back of people's neighborhoods because everybody and their brother would be onto them. You'd have videos and all kinds of stuff that would surface very quickly if they started running those programs in highly populated areas. So they have to take it out to these remote sites. And what happens is people, they're curious. So, they've got a drone. They decide, hey, I'm going to go out. I just want to check out what's going on out there. And so I think that's probably what we've been seeing is with the uptick of drones trying to get out there to get eyes on things. Could it be, the Chinese that came over? DJI makes a heck of a drone. I will tell you, I've got one. It is China made, and they could certainly put that in the hands, and it's got a very small footprint in the hands of people coming across that border, and they'd be off to the races. So that may be some of it. The other piece too is you hear all of these UFO sightings, all of it, every single bit of it. I don't buy for a minute that there are aliens coming at, demons. Yes. Fallen angels, maybe. But I think what we are seeing are some type of technology that we've gotten our hands on, and people are confusing that as aliens from outer space. And I think most of it is just technologies that we have perfected, and especially now that you've got AI coming on board, a lot of these things are unmanned. When you get out to the Palmdale Plant 42 side, you got all of, you got the B-21 Raider that's out there. You have, all kinds of Q drones, so to speak, right? So the Q9, Q4, Q1, probably not heard of Q1s, but they're out there, and there's a bunch of different ones. There's actually ones that are super high numbered Q drones that most of them are going to be some type of AI driven. I came off of a program that was being worked out in Yuma, which is a proving ground, and it was called Squad X, and it was run by DARPA, and it has gone dark, like I'd mentioned before, where you see them going out. They do a lot of testing. It's public testing that people know about it. You can look it up. It's open source stuff, and then it goes dark. Well, it goes dark because they've gotten the proofing out of the way. They've got funding now to go and run these classified programs. And so that's what I think you're seeing. The Squad X was one that was a drone that coordinated with soldiers on the battlefield, but it was, from above, not a big drone. You're talking small, just like the stuff that you would buy at at any type of drone place. Okay. But it's got advanced capabilities, and that is it can see into buildings. It can tell you friend or foe inside that building, and it coordinates every bit of that with the soldiers on ground. And it helps them basically coordinate, to a next level on the battlefield, where it takes everything out of play. You can tell, from an aerial perspective, without putting a Q4 drone up at 60,000 feet. This is low altitude. It hangs out with the squads on ground. But that's the kind of stuff that is going to the next level. When you put AI into that environment, now all of a sudden you've taken it where something maybe before decided on ground through, some guys in a tent out in the middle of the desert, looking at the data, making analysis on the fly, to an AI that is now giving you analysis. Is that even a word? In a matter of milliseconds. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And that technology is just getting better and better and better. We see it even in these third world countries like Iran, that would they be? Would Iran be a third world country? I don't really know anymore.
Parts of it would be, definitely.
Yeah. But definitely. You can see them, or Hezbollah in Lebanon. I mean, Lebanon's definitely got some backward stuff there. And these drones are these kamikaze drones that they're using. Those are just strictly GPS. They don't have any AI type of stuff tied to them. Once that AI gets engaged, you're talking, it's going to be like Terminator at that point, because now those things are going to be making decisions, and all you do is set the parameters, and it's going to make that decision on the fly very rapidly. And it becomes a very dangerous environment, because how do you defend against drones, whether they're the size of a 50-cent piece or whether they're, giant, Q4 drones that are high altitude, long range.
No kidding, especially you start having drone swarms. What do you do? By the way, everybody, just a reminder, if you like, subscribe, and share this video, it really helps us to be able to get the word out, to be able to combat the truth with the lies, and not just here, Hope for Our Times, like, subscribe, and share, but also Monkey Werx, if you don't already, which I'm sure you do, but if you don't, go check out Monkey Werx. We have all of his information in the description. Same thing, like, subscribe, and share, because it's one of the only ways that we really can combat the lies that are out there with the truth. The deception is just going to increase, but we are going to be bringing the truth. Let me ask you this, since you mentioned this with Palmdale, and we know there's military bases around all over the country, but China's been buying up all this property right around the military bases. We obviously have a huge border problem that I believe is intentional.
Yes.
We know there's Chinese nationals here. We know that there's Islamic jihadists that are here in America that have come across our borders. But what do you make of the China situation buying up the property around military bases?
Yeah, the fact that we even allow that blows my mind. We've got one that's actually right down near Del Rio. That's a huge wind farm area, and that they own a lot of land right next to. I think it's McCollum Air Force Base, and we're letting our guard down. We're allowing the enemy to come in to our actual, inside the states. It's not just military stuff that they're interested in. They're buying up farmland. They're looking at precious metals. They've got all kinds of things going on, and they are not our friend, and they've never been our friend. In fact, you go back and look at all the stuff that has been stolen from the United States in terms of intelligence or given to them by the United States through maybe the Clintons back in the day when they had that server in their bathroom. But they want to do us harm, and I think the big threat that we run into, they know right now our administration is super duper weak. They can basically do whatever they want to do without any repercussions. We've got military presence on both sides, but if you look at Asian Pacific, there's about 250,000 soldiers that are based out in anywhere from Japan, Okinawa, Philippines, throughout that region. And I think it's just it's a force that is there to basically contain them, but at the end of the day, you can look at the danger boxes that are popping up off of the Southern California coastline, and that tells you that we have a big concern about ships and other things coming through that area off our coastline, going down to Mexico, into Panama, into South America, as well as into the Baja side of the house. And so, I think China is a threat, but we're not really looking at them as the way we probably should be. Trump will look at them properly. But, I think we're really focused. The Middle East, I think, is being the stage is being set for something to pop off that is going to take our eyes off of whatever situation is going on here. It could maybe halt an election because they could come in and basically say, we're not in a position. There's threats here domestically or whatever it may be. There's just so many different things within the playbook that could disrupt everything here in the United States. But China, go back to is this going to be on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll stop what I'm saying. I was about to say something else, but I should have asked you that at the beginning, really.
I tell you what, just keep talking. We'll put that part on the app.
So, you look at the bioweapon.